Bookworms. Today I'm here with Cassie and Melissa once again for our Spines with Wines book club. This month we read, actually it's out of frame, The Amateurs.
Mine's not.
Mine was. I did not take out for that, which actually I still have to move it over even more. There we go. Okay, so do you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell us what you're drinking?
Sure. I am Melissa Kay, also known as Mecca Melissa, and I am drinking coffee right now because I am not awake and have to do things later. So this is coffee wine right now. Like detectives would drink, like Agent Cooper. So I feel like I'm in there, you know.
I was gonna call shenanigans, but then you brought Twin Peaks into it, so I forgive you. And today I'm actually drinking wine because that's the point of this book club. God, Melissa. So I found this. I actually bought this around Halloween. It's called Hobnob Wicked Chardonnay. It's got this little like cool skeleton girl on it.
Cool.
And it is limited edition, and it's pretty good.
And I am Kristen, and I am drinking this LBD Little Black Dress Pinot Grigio because
Cute.
Yeah, there were lots of fancy parties in this book. I figured that was fitting. Okay, so as for the synopsis of the book, this was one that we didn't enjoy.
No.
This will be a fun book club because we have a lot of opinions. But basically the premise is there's an online message board called Case Not Closed, and it's a website where all these people who are obsessed with real life crimes that are unsolved will like talk about cases and compare information and stuff. And they've actually been able to solve a couple of cases in other areas where like police haven't been able to. So there is a message on this board for one case from this girl named Erin. It's her sister that was murdered. It was never solved. And she puts out a message saying that she wants help because she really wants to figure out what happened. She's still having trouble coping, even though it's 5 years later that her sister has died. And then this group of people comes to her town to try to solve this case, and everything is the worst. Okay, so this was, we all think this was the first book that Sara Shepard had male POVs. They're usually told from female perspectives. So what did you think about that change in narration style?
It definitely felt like she had not written male point of views before, and or maybe not known any males for that matter. But other books she's read, or maybe not even that, maybe TV shows. I think it was kind of awkward because the shift between the characters, it wasn't really announced, and you were like, okay, I'm seeing, you know, here's Seneca thinking Maddox hot, and then all of a sudden Maddox like, look at her boobs, you know, and I'm like, whoa, like, okay, narration has shifted, I get it now. But it was kind of not a natural segue into all of them until like later on when you like got used to the awkwardness of it.
Yeah, this is my 26th Sara Shepard book I read, which is think about it. Yeah, so I've read all of her books, and I think this is the only one with like a male POV, and I hated it, and I never want it to happen again. Well, except after the reveal at the end of the book, maybe I kind of wanted it to happen, but up until that point, I was like, no, please don't ever write from a male perspective ever again. What are you doing? Oh my God, why?
Yeah, I did not understand what she was doing. They were like all horrible except for one who didn't have his own POV. And it just seemed like she had watched like a movie that was like, this is what teenage boys think about all the time. And then
boobs.
Yeah, it was just like really, bad. Okay, so next question, which we have a lot of things to say about, is on a scale of 1 to 10, how problematic did you find The Amateurs?
12. I mean, pretty much from the first like prologue was very interesting. And I was like, this is going to be cool. Chapter 1, I was out already, you know, like so problematic. I started writing down notes of like examples, you know, like what horrible things. I'm like, boobs, Japanese equals sushi. Like, you know, it's just so many horrible things. Like there's so many examples of how problematic this was in terms of like race, in terms of like gender. God, it was just like someone that like I know Sara Shepard is awesome with like her other books, which I haven't read, so maybe I'm not a fair judger in this case, but it just seemed to me like someone didn't know anything about like life outside of like a white rich circle trying to write a diverse book.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Sara Shepard's other books are problematic, but for some reason this was like, and I could like look past those as guilty pleasure reads, but for some reason the problems in this book were just too much. They kind of outweighed like the fun factor at some points. Yeah. I also took really extensive notes. Let's see if I can think of an example. For example, Maddox meets Seneca for the first time. He has no idea what she looks like, and she just assumes she's going to be homely and nerdy because she's a girl who likes true crime and spends her time on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Then there's a part where the whole crew of people hear a noise, and all the boys are like, "No, I'll look at it. No, I'll look at it. No, I'll look at it. Let me protect the women folk." I was like, ugh. So it's just two really small examples.
Yeah, and then even I think I'm thinking about the same scene as you. When they're like, "No, we should go in and protect the women," and the women are like, "Oh yeah, you're probably right. Like you should go."
You go. It's fine.
It's
the middle of the daytime,
right?
It's all of you go.
I can't stand the Japanese thing either. They're like, was she into samurais? Well, I don't know. She doesn't even like sushi. I was like, oh, they didn't.
That was terrible. Like he basically was saying that there's no difference between Korean people and Japanese people.
Yeah, I was just like,
it was like, whoa. And then he's like, oh shoot, sorry.
Yeah, no, not okay.
The other girl, like the main character, it said like she responded like half teasingly, half jokingly or whatever. And I was like, really? Like that's like not funny.
Yeah, I would have been like, bye.
Yeah. Also that, but then also for me, like I thought it was extremely problematic because, well, for a lot of reasons, but some specific examples that come to mind are Madison is Korean and she is obsessed with Hello Kitty and she wears giant Hello Kitty hats on her head. And she just seemed like way more like a caricature of an Asian person than like a real character.
So it was like a nail thing.
What?
In the beginning, she's like, let me do your nails and da-da-da. Like that was like the first thing out of her mouth. And I was like.
And then also, so Seneca is
Seneca Crane is in this. That's great.
I know, right?
I love him in the Hunger Games.
Me too.
She's a character that comes from completely out of state. Like no one in this town knows who she is at all, except for the people that she's going, or except for the one guy that she's going to meet, who doesn't tell her that he's a guy. Like in this whole time that they became best friends online, she has assumed that he's a woman, and it just like never came up that he was a guy. Like that bothered me because it was like.
And you think he would have told her because he was telling her his name was Maddie.
It's creepy. It's so, you've got mail, you know, like this is just creepy. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like Ready Player One in like a bad way.
Yeah. So she comes into this place where no one knows her, and then that guy, Maddie, he is in a relationship with this terrible girl named Catherine. And Catherine is obsessed with like finding out everything that he does, and she's asking him like what friends he was hanging out with, and he says Seneca, and she's like, oh, is that the half black girl?
Yeah.
Like, how would she know that? How could someone assume that based on the way that someone looks? Like I was just like, is that a real thing that you just said?
Right.
And if you're watching them from across a parking lot, I feel like you'd be like, oh, was she the one in like the bright red dress?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, like anything else. Weird.
Yeah.
Like a weird choice.
The girl with the fabulous hair.
she's the girl who's 1/8 Asian, you know, I mean, like, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
Like, we get it. We know she's supposed to be exotic. It's like she's throwing that diversity down our throats. Like, most people think I'm exotic, you know, with my dark skin and light eyes. Like,
Yeah. It definitely was forced.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on.
No, let's talk about this for another 3 hours.
There's so much to say.
So actually, we did kind of cover it. The next question was about how the diversity really wasn't handled well, but I do feel like we went over some of those details. So of the 4 main amateurs, Seneca, Brett, Maddox, and Aaron, who did you think was the most valuable member of their team?
Sophie's choice. Even though we know the truth, I would say Brett.
But no, he wasn't, because he was misleading.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it wasn't solved either way, so no one actually helped anything. I mean, you would probably have to say Seneca, since obviously, you know, she's there. But I feel like Brett was really smart.
Yeah, my toss-up would be between Seneca and Aaron. I mean, I think Aaron, just because it especially helped she had, you know, prior knowledge of the case and she knew all the friends. But I guess if I were going just in general, I'd have to say Seneca. She came in as an outsider and kind of picked up on all this stuff. Although she did have hints from the actual killer. I don't know. They're all pretty useless. But I guess Seneca. Seneca Green. Good job. That was a great Hunger Games.
I would also say Seneca. She had the least, like, she seemed the most intuitive about people, as bad as she was in certain situations. She did seem to be able to read certain things that others of them, like, couldn't figure out. Okay, so suspending all belief that these teenagers were able to solve this case that the police gave up on pretty quickly, what did you think of their sleuthing skills?
I think that they were amateurs at best, as the title suggests. But, you know, I mean, there are a couple of teenagers. Like, how good can you be realistically as a teenager? You know, you're not like Nancy Drew or something. I mean, obviously, most teenagers aren't able to hack into, like, the police department. So they're obviously a little bit better.
But every teenager knows how to seduce a police officer and steal his private information.
I mean, also, every police officer also keeps a list of
passwords readily available, unprotected.
Did he password protect it?
No.
No, yeah, it was just there.
Just in his desk on his iPad. Right there. Yeah.
It would be funny if he had like a whole list like on his fridge, just like secret police passwords.
Yeah. Like, oh, obviously he would have like all of his passwords right in the notes section.
Mm-hmm.
And also, let's keep in mind, so this is what always threw me. Like, when Helena was alive, they would mention like bands and music, I think. Like, now that are present nowadays, and now it's 5 years later, like, wouldn't they have like some fancy iPhone with like thumbprint protected thing in their iPad, not able to access it? You know, this is the future I'm talking about.
Well, they still had iPhones 5 years ago. They were just like worse versions of the iPhone.
That's true. It was like the iPhone.
Like, it's not like they were like, here's Helena's like old phone. It's a crazy. It's a T-Mobile. You know, it's like a BlackBerry. It's like an actual iPhone. So that's what made me think like the current time frame was set now, I guess. I could be wrong though. I have no idea. What was the question? That's supposed to be, yes. Okay. Ooh, I'm curious to see what happens. Like, I feel like the only reason they solved this case is because they had insider details.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think they could do it otherwise.
I think so too. I also feel like everything just came really easy to them. It was like, as soon as they would hit some kind of roadblock, it was just immediately solved, which seemed unrealistic. But overall, like, I guess they connected the dots, but they had a lot of help getting there. So I don't necessarily think they were great at it. What do you think the dumbest decision they made collectively while trying to solve the case was?
Oh God, there's so many. I mean, seducing a police officer, that's pretty terrible in my opinion on like multiple levels. Um, God, I don't like crashing yacht parties and like, God, I don't know. Come back to me. I have to think about like the actual decision.
Every decision was a bad decision. Oh, no, wait, you know what the worst decision was? Instead of continuing with their case, throwing a giant party at a hotel.
I was gonna say that, but that was Brett misleading them too.
You're right. God, I hate Brett.
But they all agreed to it.
That's true.
None of them were like, oh no, we're like trying to solve a murder. They were like, okay, yeah, let's.
Yeah. Also, they only had champagne at that party.
And like, yeah, come on.
What are you doing?
So
you can't just drink champagne all night. What's wrong with you? Mix it up a little bit. Teens.
Yeah.
You don't get drunk. I mean, I guess you can't get drunk off champagne, but like, but they're eating too, so I don't know how.
You'd have a major headache the next day.
Honestly, I don't know. It's just like a weird thing to like binge on.
Yeah.
Like, I had 3 bottles of champagne last night.
Right?
Who does that?
Happy New Year.
And it wasn't even like they were all in high school. Like, Seneca's in college.
Oh yeah, she was like a freshman.
Right. Yeah.
I think Brett was in college too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't even know how old Brett is anymore.
Yeah.
50.
History now.
50 years old.
But yeah, I would agree that the party thing was the worst decision.
Yes, that was really dumb.
Okay, so do you think that the group was more concerned with solving the case or deciding who they wanted to hook up with?
Is this a real question? Like, is this rhetorical? Because we know, we know the answer. Definitely who they wanted to hook up with. I mean, obviously they want to solve the case, but like, come on, they're teenagers with raging hormones, and this is clearly YA, so that's going to take a back seat.
I mean, they were able to balance it well on Veronica Mars. So, like, it bothered me they couldn't do it here.
Veronica Mars is up here.
I know. Veronica Mars is so above the amateurs.
Most everything.
Yeah. They definitely spent a lot of time thinking about hooking up with each other as opposed to thinking about the case. Even Erin, like, whose sister was the one that got murdered, she seemed less focused on trying to find her sister's killer than she was on, like, whether she was going to hook up with the police officer or Brett or...
Oh my god, but one of them has such good muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of the males, who did you think was worse, Brett or Maddox?
Well, obviously we have to say Brett, I feel like.
No, you don't.
But I liked him, okay? I think Maddox was worse. He just seemed like a very, like, flailing, like, I don't know. I didn't like what he did with, like, this Catherine situation. And, like, the way he thought, like, his thoughts were such locker room talk thoughts. You know, he just seemed very dumb, you know? And, like, some of the things he said, oh my god, like there's this one line I can knock it out of my head. It's so stupid. He's like, I'm not the little guy who farts after milk anymore. And I'm like, what? You're acting now? Like, what? I don't understand, like, what happened there. I just cannot deal with it because it's just annoying. So for me, it's Maddox.
I hated both of them so much, even before we got the reveal. I was just like, I hate these men. They're terrible. There was a really bad scene with Brett where he's trying to hook up with Erin, but she's like drunk. But instead of being like, oh no, she's drunk and it would be wrong to take advantage of her, he thinks like, oh, I want this to be a super memorable kiss, so I'm not gonna. It's like, okay, so you would have done it if she like that. I find that incredibly problematic, personally. So like that put him like a little bit worse. But then all that Catherine stuff, and he's like, I'll just make out with my coach. It's fine. Everything's fine. And then I'll just lie about it to this girl I actually like. Everything's going to be great.
Maddox was worse for me too. Because by the 4th chapter, he had already reminded us like 10 times that he's cool now.
Right.
And I was like, he just kept having all of these like internal thoughts that were like, why doesn't every single girl want me? I'm so cool. I don't understand. And then he also like has an afterthought of, I'm sure that if I said that out loud, it wouldn't sound the same. And I'm like, no, it would sound exactly the same. He drove me nuts.
Yeah.
It was like, who, like, this is not like a real character. And no, thankfully, I've never known anyone who has had thoughts like that. I just can't, like.
How do you know?
That's true. Maybe.
I think every night your husband comes home and he's like, man, I'm so cool, but I can't talk about it. I'm just so cool, but there's this nerd living inside of me.
My husband actually is cool, but but no, I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe you should ask him.
No, he definitely doesn't, because I also had been complaining to him about this when I first started it. Because every time that I'm reading, he'll be like, "How's the book?" And for this one, I was just like,
No.
Who did you think the most irritating side character was?
Catherine. She was so annoying. Like, I just wanted to kill her. Like, myself. Just go away. She was annoying. I like her.
I'm gonna say Madison. Catherine didn't bother me as much because she was just like, what crazy thing is this weirdo gonna do next? Like, she sent Maddox 176 texts in like one day. And I found that hysterical, so I wrote it down. But Madison was just like, I love clothes and smoking weed, and I found her completely obnoxious. Every time she would show up, I'd be like, no, go away, please, just go away, never come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I disliked Cassie. I thought Madison was really annoying, but I thought that Catherine was like,
yes,
because first of all, like, she's making this younger kid, like, she's like blackmailing a young kid. Then she's also just like so crazy and obsessed with where he is all the time that it was like scary. Like, he probably should have just called the police. Definitely like stalker material. She was just the worst to me. And like the fact, and then like that day she like showed up to his house in like a tiny dress, and she's like, oh, I was just in the neighborhood after I called you a million times and you didn't.
Hello, hey, I'm here.
Yeah, what would his mother think of all this, I wonder?
Well, I mean, his mom was like, oh, Catherine called and said that you didn't come to practice. You need to go. So like she was even involving his mom to make him hang out with her. It was just so weird.
So creepy. And also, like, what, they had one kiss and all of a sudden she was like his girlfriend and it's complicated.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Girls wish that were the case. In real life. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that's like fairy tale princess rules. Like, I guess we have to get married now.
Right? Oh, they kissed, they're together. I have a girlfriend. I'm sorry, I have a girlfriend. I kissed my coach yesterday. Sorry. Like,
So we're dating. We're exclusive.
I was like, what? Really? God. Guess I've been wrong all these years.
So even Lauren, the grimy art gallery guard, was more intelligent than the rest of the amateurs. Do you think that they could have solved the case without his help?
Probably not.
I don't think they could have done it without all the hints they were given by every single person.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I agree too. So the next one we also kind of touched upon, but Sara Shepard really seems to enjoy writing about adults who get into inappropriate relationships with minors. So we talked about Catherine and Maddox's relationship, but what did you think of Helena and Skip Ingram's relationship?
Creepy. This whole thing had a very Twin Peaks vibe, in my opinion. Like, this is like the junky, like, teenage, really bad fanfic version of Twin Peaks. So I kind of got that vibe as soon as like I found out all the like, oh, she has this delivery service and she's hooking up with this like old, man, like someone's dad, and he's like this art dealer, suave man. It was problematic.
I was gonna say, how did he figure out how to use that app? But I don't think, what was he, like 40 when they started hooking up?
I guess so.
She was like 18 or 17. I don't know. Because he's like 45 now or something.
Right.
He taught him how to use it.
And of course his name was Skip.
That's such like a rich old white man's name.
Right? Like he would have an affair with a 15-year-old or 16-year-old.
I thought their relationship was really weird. Just mostly because I didn't understand why Helena, I guess, well, he said that Helena was the one that pushed to move into his New York apartment. But then they were planning on coming back to the same town on February 1st. So I didn't really understand like why she needed to run away and move.
Yeah, just be like, I moved to New York by myself.
Yeah, like she was only, and it was only like, what, 2 months that she was going to be gone, or like a month and a half. So it just seemed really strange. Like,
they were going to come back on Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, like it was, why?
I love that movie. They're just big Bill Murray fans. So like, let's just come back on Groundhog's Day. I need to know if our town groundhog sees this shadow. We have to come back on Groundhog's Day.
What were your feelings on the reveal of Seneca and Brett's past in relation to the people that they loved, that they had both lost?
Felt nothing, because I was not emotionally connected to the characters.
I'm a robot.
You knew it was there because Seneca mentioned it in the very beginning. She's like, I have this halo too, where I'm very sad and damaged. Like, it was no surprise, honestly. So I felt nothing.
I don't know. I thought it was an interesting twist. I did not like how it was revealed. Like, I thought it would be revealed in a different way. Instead, it was just Brett being like, hey, Googled you, and I see you have a dead mom, and I have a dead grandma. Like, let's be friends and start, like, a dead family club. What do you think? I hated that. I hated that reveal so much. I was, like, excited to see, like, what her shady secret was.
I knew it was going to be dumb.
I honestly wasn't really expecting that. I guess it makes sense, but I thought it was just like it felt like a plot device to just tie them together more. It didn't really feel like it added anything to the story that much.
Especially when you find out why they're all, like, related.
Yeah, exactly.
It just made it even more ridiculous.
Yeah. So obviously at this point, Brett was the one that was the killer and the thing. But who did you?
I really didn't see that coming. I'm sorry.
I didn't either, actually. I didn't either.
Me either. And I feel like I usually can guess.
Me too.
Who it is.
I'm like always on the mark.
But so what did you? I can speak. Who did you suspect as Helena's killer throughout the book? And did your suspicions change at all throughout the novel?
Oh yeah, many times. At first I was like, oh, it's so Kevin's gay boyfriend. And then I was like, oh, it's
Senator or whatever.
Senator. That's another young mentor.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right. That's right. Yeah, that was right.
There's 3 in this book.
That's a lot for one book.
So you just Ezra and Arya.
Yeah. Listen, I'm an Ezra apologist, so
nope.
I'm behind, so I don't know what's happening.
Ezra on the show.
I just think it's really hot, okay? Like, he's hot to me.
So he's hot, so it's okay?
No, it's not okay.
He's a statutory rape. It's okay because he's super cute.
It's okay because Arya went to Iceland, so she's like very cultured and
she's very cool.
Oh, guys, I've seen like 3 seasons of this show.
Actually, I don't think they talked about that in the show. That was more like a book thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the books, Ezra's gone in like the 2nd book or something.
Oh yeah, he's like arrested for statutory rape like super early.
No way. That's
yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, so yeah, it changed like 100 times.
I thought I had the Sara Shepard formula down, so I assumed it was Thomas because he was like the only good person in this book. So I was like, he's gonna turn around and be the killer.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I think it would have been fun if Seneca was the killer because we got her POV.
Yeah,
and like she's like an out of towner, so that I don't know.
We had POV too, though.
Yeah, you're right. Brett got a POV.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole book, I really thought that it was Catherine, and like as we kept getting more clues, I was convinced that maybe like Skip was also dating Catherine or like broke up with her, and then he was like bitter about it, so she like killed Helena to get back at her.
Yeah.
I really thought that she was going to be guilty because I was just like, she sucks and she's so annoying, and why, like, she's in so much of the story. So I really thought that it was going to be her. Did you feel like the clues that were given throughout the novel could lead any reader to the resolution?
I don't know. I'd have to go back. I don't really think so. I think it was kind of like out of left field. Like she left misleading clues everywhere, which, you know, it's what Brett did. So I don't think so.
Yeah, it was kind of like littered with red herrings.
Yeah.
Which I guess is like her, Sara Shepard's MO. Like the whole point of the Pretty Little Liars books is you have another person like feeding everyone in the police like all these false, misleading clues.
Mm-hmm. I definitely don't think that it's something that anyone could really pick up on. And I think that it's just because everything in this book seemed so random. It wasn't like, I think it just wasn't a well-crafted story. I don't think it was something where you can go into it and you're like, all right, I'm going to solve this, because you just kept getting more random information like all the time, which is why I think like I really loved This Is Our Story by Ashley Elston, which Cassie, I know you read that too. That to me was such a well-crafted story. And even though I was able to pick out who the killer was in that book, I felt like it was so well written, and like the clues were like so minute, but the fact that you were able to like pick them out if you were really paying attention made it exciting to read. Whereas this one, I felt like I was grasping at straws. Like I didn't feel like I had any kind of handle on what the ending could have been, which kind of bothered me because I feel like that just like speaks to how it wasn't written well.
It was kind of like the Gossip Girl finale where you find out who Gossip Girl was. It was kind of like she wrote the whole book and then was like then decided who the killer should be with like out putting any details in the back. So you're like, wait, no, that's impossible.
It was like, I'll figure out who the killer is by the time I finish writing this book.
Exactly.
It was like that.
But by then there were so many plot holes and Dan Humphrey was emailing clues to himself.
Right? That was a
spoiler. We're spoiling a lot of things that aren't this book.
I'm still not that reveal.
Did you believe Erin's sudden memory gain when she was thinking about the events that happened 5 years in the past?
Oh, God. I mean, to be fair, people do when they have traumatic things happen, like repressed memories, or like they just don't, you know, consciously like think about them. So that's definitely something that could happen, you know, but, and for this book, it was just way too convenient and ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like there's like stuff I should remember that I like can't remember all the time. Like I can't remember like a man like figuring out all these details from 5 years ago that are like super like they're not memorable enough to like stick in your mind.
Right.
Like, oh, remember 5 years ago when my sister and like our, you know, old man friend were hanging out in the kitchen? Yeah, they were definitely in a relationship. I totally remember that. Yeah, I don't remember that. There's nothing notable about it.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it made sense the way that she all of a sudden was like, oh, wait, this like tiny thing happened. This must be what's going on.
Remember this minuscule thing that happened? Yeah.
But then it was also kind of annoying that she was like angry at the police for not figuring out the case. Meanwhile, she like withheld information that would have probably helped them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also like frustrating because you, I don't know, I just, ugh. Okay, so what did you think of the ending, and do you think it was enough to redeem the book in your eyes?
I did like the ending. The last chapter was awesome. It was probably the only good thing in the whole book, in my opinion. Not enough to redeem it.
Yeah, I liked the first chapter and the last chapter. Like those frame chapters were great. Mm-hmm. I actually, when I got to the ending, was very upset because I was like, oh, I love this twist. It's great. Now I have to keep reading this stupid series. And I got really angry about it. But I did bump the book up a star on Goodreads from where I was going to rate it just for that ending. Because it did take me by surprise. So yeah, props for that.
I was very surprised and I liked the ending, but it definitely didn't make me give it another star because, like I said before, I think that it was not a well-crafted story and that pretty much anything that she could have thrown in at the end would have been a surprise because there wasn't enough like cohesiveness throughout.
Surprise, they're all the murderer. It's Clue style.
Oh.
Did it.
So do you think that Brett will start a new account on Case Not Closed in the future, like under a false name?
Totally.
Yeah, definitely. That seems to be like his thing. He just seems to. Well, how does he know they know he's the murderer?
That's true. He doesn't,
Yeah.
but obviously we know that Seneca does.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wonder if he's worried about them figuring it out or not.
But he was kind of like well known on Case Not Closed under his current name because he had like insight into things that people didn't see.
Yeah.
So we'd have to do that.
I was saying, is he only solving his own murders? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Every unsolved murder in the whole world is done by Brett. Your unsolved mysteries, we figured out all your mysteries.
He also, like, come to think of it, he basically told them, like, in the beginning, they could have figured it out a lot earlier because he knew information about them and they were like, how do you know that? And he was like, I obviously researched every single one of you.
Google.
And none of them were like, oh, we should look you up. They were just like, we'll take everything you say at face value.
Yeah, because if they had just Googled him in the beginning, they would have been like, this isn't the guy he says he is. How strange.
All right. Did you even have a favorite scene in The Amateurs? And what was your least favorite scene?
I would say, like Cassie said, the first chapter was riveting and the last chapter. So those are my favorite scenes. Least favorite scene, the whole book, but probably, God, I don't know, like the first scene where Erin's like taking her top off like every 5 minutes and talking about her boobs was really just.
But they're so great. They're so great boobs.
They're so great. You know, over the past 5 years, I grew boobs. I hate the word boobs like in a book. It just sounds so pornographic, you know, like
what is it spelled? BEWBS.
I would have liked that better, actually.
Okay.
It was just like, it was just so cringeworthy. There's so many. Probably that one. I'll start with that one. Sure.
All of it, but especially the boobs.
Yeah.
Yes, I also liked the last chapter. Was probably my favorite scene. Least favorite scene. I just had it in my head, and then probably this part where Seneca shows up at Catherine's office, and she thinks that Catherine and Maddox are making out, but it was just all a big misunderstanding. I was like, this is such like a dumb TV show sitcom cliche, and I know where they're gonna go with it. It's really stupid, and I hate it. And I wish it weren't in this stupid book.
Actually, I like just thought of this now on the top of my head, but during the book, like several of them get attacked as they're trying to solve the case because they're trying to be like warded off. Was that okay? So what's the name? Skip's wife. They like figured out that she was the one attacking, but did she really attack Brett at the end too, or did he do something to himself to make it look like being attacked?
I don't know.
Well, unless he's like psychologically damaged, that would be a weird that would be weird for him because it was from his POV.
Right.
It'd be strange for him to talk about how he was attacked, right?
Yeah.
I wonder, like he must have been really confused.
I'm saying unless he's like a sociopath and like has no idea when this other personality comes out.
Seems like he knows.
Yeah.
Judging by the end. But he must have been like super confused when he got, because he was like, I'm the killer.
Wait, I'm the murderer. Is there another murderer?
How do you think The Amateurs compared to Pretty Little Liars?
Pretty Little Liars leads better on multiple levels. So much.
Pretty Little Liars is bad, but like good bad. Like this was just like
Bad.
This was bad.
Like bad. Like not like winter spell bad.
Oh God.
That was a different kind of bad.
Yeah, like this was like bad, but like I could still like it wasn't bad to the point where I'm like, like I need to like take a 6-month break because like it still did go really fast, but it was so bad.
Yeah. I felt like I read it really quick. Even though I was like cringing throughout the whole thing, I was like, this is horrible, but at least I'm making progress. So how many stars did you give The Amateurs, and would you recommend it to other people?
I would give it a 1.5.
Wow.
I would not recommend it to others.
It's not even Goodreads ratings.
I know. 2, I guess, as it rounds up.
I was going to give it a 2, but then I gave it a 3 based on that ending because I really did appreciate that. But this is probably my least favorite Sara Shepard book. And like, I really didn't like any of the Lion Game books. Those were very bad. But this was like, just, I don't know if it was the male POVs or what, but it was just worse. So much worse.
It was just really, really troublesome.
But I couldn't give it a 2 also because I gave Winterspell a 2. Like, that is unreadable to me.
I would argue that Winterspell is better than The Amateurs.
What? Because I just found it so unreadable.
I think that Winterspell was at least well written.
You're right.
Yeah.
Whereas this was,
like my kid sister wrote this book.
Yeah, it was just so random. Like I just
don't have a kid sister.
I know. I was saying if I had one that was like 10, she wrote this book.
My non-existent kid sister wrote this book. That's how bad it is.
I'm just baffled, like how this got published. How so many people were like, "This works."
And it has such a high rating. Like on Amazon, it has like 4 stars. I'm like,
really? That's high for Amazon.
I think that my guess, I ended up giving this 2 stars, and I would not recommend to read it unless you are in the mood to like hate read something and like make fun of it a lot.
Yeah, if you want to hate read something real bad, this is the book for you.
But I would be willing to bet that a lot of people like rated this 5 out of 5 stars without reading it, just because it is Sara Shepard.
oh,
Has not, like she's known for other things, and people tend to do that because I can't imagine that it would have that many stars if people had actually read it. That's like the logic that I can draw.
Yeah, it's probably just people who watch the Pretty Little Liars show and they're like, yes, Sara Shepard's great and that show is great. Spoilers, it's not great.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 5 stars.
Are you planning on continuing reading the series?
no.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm 26 books into Sara Shepard's bibliography.
You have to. You're committed.
I have to. I'm just caught up. I'm caught up. I got to keep going.
That's very sad for you. I was definitely intrigued by the ending. I don't think that I could bring myself to read another one of these. I'm interested in knowing what happens next, but now that I know that Cassie's reading it,
I'll fill you in. I'll live text you guys.
I'll just ask her what's happening, and I don't have to read it.
I'll have the
I'll be
last
like, well, the next book had 12 inappropriate relationships.
They're just gonna like multiply with each book.
I just want to know how many books this is gonna be, so I know what I'm getting into.
Oh God!
Could you imagine if it's gonna be like Pretty Little Liars, like 16 books?
Oh my God!
Plus 2 companion books, so 18 technically books for Pretty Little Liars.
No, terrible.
There was a really bad prequel book where Ezra comes back and like he and Arya like have a picnic, and it was really bad.
Okay, so anyway, we all obviously had a bad start to our 2017 reading year with this one.
Well, technically, I was gonna say technically this is a December book club though.
I know, but I didn't read it until January.
I know.
I always try to read it close to when book club is, so that I'll have everything like fresh in mind. Not as close as Melissa did.
20 minutes ago.
Melissa read it all in 5 minutes right before this.
That's
yeah, so, but I am really excited about our January book. We are going to be reading Wind Witch by Susan Dennard. We did Truth Witch. I think that was our January book last year.
I liked Melissa's reaction to the announcement. She yawned and drank some water. Looked like she was throwing some serious shade at our book choice. She was like,
Well, I'm really excited. We all did love Truth Witch. Our group text is now called Thread Sisters. Like, that's how much we liked Truth Witch. And from all of the early reviews that I've read, everyone seems to think that Wind Witch is like a million times better than Truth Witch. So that
good. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so here's hoping that we'll have a much better book club when we talk about Wind Witch. And actually, so it's 2:00 right now. Susan Dennard and Alex Brackett
Yawning again.
having
What
happened?
Melissa just keeps yawning like you're bored. Every time you make an announcement, she yawns.
It's so boring.
I'm tired, you guys. I woke up early to read about inappropriate relationships, diversity.
Anyway, so Susan Dennard and Alex Bracken are having an event today for both of their new books, for Wayfarer and for Wind Witch, at Book People, and it starts at 2 p.m. I believe it's in Texas, so it's
I was gonna say, are you gonna go?
No, I wish.
Book People's awesome.
But Susan is going to be announcing the title of the third book at the event, which I'm sure it'll be on Twitter like within seconds afterwards. So I'm excited about that.
PM Eastern Standard Time or Texas Standard Time?
Texas Standard Time.
My standard time.
What is that, Central?
So, yeah, I think it's Central, right?
Okay. Central.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys tell us where we can find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and my website as Mecca Melissa. That's it.
You can find me on the internet. Twitter, Goodreads, Instagram are my top three as Yurchmonger, YRCHMONGER, or my book blog, Bibliomantics. And you cannot find me on Case Closed, which is a fictional forum and full of stupid people that I hate.
You can also find me here on this YouTube channel, and also thank you, because I am super close to reaching 10,000 YouTube subscribers, which is like unreal.
Confetti, 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 confetti.
Yeah. And you can also find me on Instagram as Super Space Chick or Twitter as Super Space Chick. I've actually been paying more attention to Twitter lately, which has been really fun.
Yeah, it's been real fun.
Goodreads, and definitely not on Facebook because I hate that.
You're on Facebook though.
Yeah, but I'm really not. I'm really on it so that mom can see that I have one. I'm not active. But anyway, so that is all that we have to talk about for this. So we will see you guys next month, and we'll try to announce the showtime probably on Twitter. That'll be like the best way.
And Goodreads, our Goodreads group. Join it. Wines with Wines.
We have a Goodreads group, and on there. Okay, so bye.